Hello, everybody. Welcome to 4 Deep Sports Talk here at the news station, 1320 AM Attleboro. I'm Justin Ferreira, and now a quick word from our sponsor. This segment of 4 Deep Sports Talk is made possible by the generous support of Diesel Direct. Diesel Direct, the national fuel resource in 46 states, boosts a fleet of over 900 fuel delivery trucks. 4 Deep Sports Talk would like to congratulate Diesel Direct on its 25th year anniversary. Thank you, Diesel Direct, for your unwavering support, helping us provide a platform for high school and youth athletes in southeastern Massachusetts.
All right, you can dive in.
Well, shouldn't we say who we have on?
You
first?
should say that.
Yes. So.
Well, you're looking at me, and I don't want to give you the wrong answer.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to bring it in. That's
No,
fine.
he does better than me.
No. Okay. So today we are here with Ian Bain, the new Bridgewater Raynham football coach. And my first question for you is your family excited for the upcoming football season?
All right. Well, great to be here. My family is very excited. For however many years now, 13, 14 years, my wife and I have lived in Raynham. So we've been Raynham residents. My wife has been a teacher in the Bridgewater Raynham school system a bunch of years. I don't know, 15, I think it is now for her. And we have two children, 7 and 2. So our oldest son, Michael, he is in the first grade in Raynham. And our daughter, Riley, she's 3. And, she'll be starting preschool the next year, I think, and eventually, obviously, going through the BR public school system. So, to answer your question, I think they're really, really excited because they loved Franklin football, and they loved coming to games on Friday, but just the chance to be that much closer, be a part of the action every week, come out to workouts in the summer and off season. Be a part of the, that's the cool thing is we're now coaching football in the community that we live. So, every kind of brick and foundational piece we lay and every investment we make into our program, we're going to see those benefits in the community we live in. So very excited. We're a sports family for sure, but football has a special place with us.
You're going to save a lot of gas now, Coach.
That is for sure. Yeah.
So, how's it been so far? I would think it'd be positive. I mean, everyone loves a fresh start, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. How has the response been so far with the Bridgewater Raynham community?
I mean, everything that I've experienced has been positive. Certainly, change can always go different ways. There are some people that adapt well and respond well to change. Some people want change. Some people don't want change. And that's going to be what it's going to be. As far as just, my own interactions with our players, the school system, the people in both communities, Bridgewater and Raynham. And we have some kids that attend BR from out of district because we're a school choice town. Everything that I've experienced so far has been super positive. There's a lot of times where things happen and you sort of encounter roadblocks or kind of red lights or whatever you want to, however you want to sort of say that. But really so far everything's really been about, green lights and how can we make things work that we want to accomplish. So super positive start. We do have a lot left to do, but the first month and a half or whatever it's been a very good experience.
Now I know Vinny's ready to dive into his question. So how to go with the meeting the players and all that? How'd that turn out? I mean, probably turned out positive, but I mean, the kids must have been excited. New start to a new beginning and stuff like that.
I think so. I mean, here's the thing, and I've been on teams where there's been coaching changes.
Yep.
I was a new coach in Franklin in 2016, and Brad Sidwell hired me to sort of take over for him. So. It's never easy, though, because players oftentimes, there's a coaching change, but players very rarely pick their coach that replaces them. Right. It's just kind of like, and it's the same thing when you leave a place. Like leaving Franklin, those kids didn't have a say in me leaving. They didn't have a say in the next coach that Franklin hired, who's Todd Kiley, who's great, by the way. So there is a little element of that. I would say our first team meeting that we had probably the week after we were hired, we had close to 100 kids attend. I don't know that every kid will necessarily decide to play, but we wanted kids to come out and give it a chance. I think there's certainly, I think there's optimism for sure, for whatever reason. But I think too, like, it has to be a good fit, But again, we've seen positive things so far with it. I think the student athletes that we've had in the weight room for the last month or so, it's been great. We also have a lot of kids that are in track, lacrosse, baseball. I don't know if we have a tennis player. I feel like somebody said we have a tennis player or two.
Yeah.
But either way, the spring sports season is wrapping up. We have a ton of games this weekend. I think we have, I'm trying to think, today's softball and lacrosse, and tomorrow there's lacrosse. So we still have kids playing, and we want them to go far. So I think really we'll kind of see in the next few weeks as we get into the summer and the school year ends, kind of where we're at with all of, getting everybody in together. I think
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. But it's been good so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, how would you really go about building those relationships with the new players?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is being visible, not be invisible, being visible. If we're going to ask our players and our people to invest a lot into our program, I have to be the one showing that example. Nobody can work harder than I do, and that just has to be the way it is. There's no other way around it. You can't come in and ask for buy-in. You can't ask for a big commitment. You can't ask for all the work that we need to do if I'm not willing to be the first person in the door and the last person out. So to build the relationships, I have to be there. You have to be present. And that's the same thing. If you want to be a captain of a team, you've got to be at the workouts. If you want to run a company, you got to be in the building, right? You got to run the business. I don't think it usually works the other way. And then I think just being authentic with the kids and, making them understand who I am and being clear about that, being clear of the expectations for them, and explaining our culture and explaining how we're going to do things. And then, the last thing is, I think, to build relationships, I think, with athletes now. Athletes want to be great athletes want to be coached. Great athletes want to know, like, you got to have, like, we just kind of say this with all our kids. We want to first give them purpose. We want to give them mastery of their skill. And then once we've done those things, we're going to give them that little bit of autonomy in the program. Like, guys, this is your program. It's going to be around long after I'm here and gone from this earth. It's here after Coach Pacheco. It's here after Coach Buron. It's here after every other great coach in BR history. That stands the test of time, right? It's the players' program. It doesn't belong to anybody else. So eventually, like, we can get that part in. So I think, kids want to be coached. They want to be pushed to be the best that they can be. And I think that's always been a way that I've found, like, kids really buy in, and those relationships come from that. Like, this guy wants me to get better. It's not about an ego thing for coach. It's not about something it's not supposed to be about. It's about, hey, he's here because he wants me to succeed. And that doesn't just mean being a great football player. It means, like, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually. And we define spiritually as just, like, it's not religious. It could be, but it's about being something bigger than the program, right? Being something beyond just Bridgewater football. And I think kids will always gravitate and be attracted to the fact that, all right, I'm gonna be a better person coming out of this program. And like I said in our meeting with parents and the kids, I was like, you lifting all summer, that's going to make you a better lacrosse player, a better baseball player. Like, we're going to make you better at all the other things you do. Like, this isn't just like, come just be a football guy. Yeah. You're going to get better grades because we're going to monitor it. At least that's the hope, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the way that I plan to build relationships and build culture. It's got to be a cultural thing.
Well, it's funny. I've had the pleasure of calling his games at Brockton High, and he's always come across as a gentleman. And being an ex-football coach, every time Franklin used to run a play, I'd say, "Wow, that was pretty cool the way they opened up that offense." Wow. If you want to call him 508-222-1320, and for the people listening back in the Bridgewater Raynham area and the Franklin area, I did a little stat here. So in the last 6 seasons in Franklin, he just, if you think, even if we went 10-0, he's just under 40 wins, and that averages out to 7 wins a season, based off him and his coaching staff. So that would make me, if you're a diehard Bridgewater Raynham football fan, I would definitely be sitting up knowing that this gentleman across from me can definitely get it done when he gets his coaches and everybody and everyone buys into the system. So that's pretty cool. And that's a kudos to you, Coach. And I thought that was pretty cool. And again, nice guy. I mean, he was smiling when I would ask him, hey, who's his quarterback and who's his running back and who's the punter and who's the kicker? And he's let me go down the whole list. And he's like, hey, have a good broadcast, and then I'm watching him dismantle Brockton High, and all those other things. And no,
I don't know that we did that, but it was.
I was
we
there.
had a couple good games.
I was there.
Games
I was there,
boxers.
Coach. I saw it. Trust me. I saw it. Again, kudos to you yourself. But if you think about that, that's pretty cool. 7 wins. Average last 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Around 7 wins a game. That's pretty cool. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm done.
No, that's okay.
What else you got?
Kind of talking about you and your football background. What was your football background? Did you play? How far did you go?
So my football background, I've kind of been a football guy my whole life. Like I started playing in 4th grade. Always been a big fan. Like I can tell you the era I started getting into football. Like I can remember a little bit, but like when I became like a football fan and fanatic and obsessed with it was like when Joe Montana went to the Chiefs, and I got like a Chiefs jersey. I had Joe Montana Chiefs cards, and like at that point on, I just so wanted to play football. I grew up kind of all over, but when I started playing football and getting into football, it was out in Michigan. So the Midwest is a big football place, and kind of grew up right between we were a couple hours from South Bend, a couple hours from Ann Arbor, a couple hours from Chicago, a couple hours from East Lansing, Michigan State, 30 minutes from West Michigan University, which is in Kalamazoo. So and like football is just a big part of life out there. And small schools, they even have 8-man football because people want to play football, but you don't always have them in enough guys in those small kind of farm towns. So that's kind of where my background started. My sophomore year of high school, we moved to Connecticut, which is not necessarily known for being like a football haven, of sorts.
Basketball.
Yeah, or just, I mean, I don't know what Connecticut's known for. Great pizza. And now, granted, there's good football, but I just kind of mean like there's more things to do in New England, I feel like.
Yeah.
And even in Mass, like there's just a lot of, like, when I went to high school in Michigan, we didn't have a soccer team, male or female. We didn't have field hockey. We didn't have lacrosse. It was like you're playing football, basketball, baseball, and track. And it was kind of cool because I got to do baseball and run track my freshman year. So it was kind of fun.
That's pretty cool.
But again, there weren't that many kids, so it wasn't really because I was talented. It was like we just need an extra guy to run the hurdles and play outfield.
Being humble.
And then in Connecticut, I for whatever reason, the way the stars lined up when we moved, I ended up playing for a guy named John Mayo. And we were the only school that I can remember at that time. This is like 2001, and then I graduated 04, so the fall of 03. We ran the run and shoot offense. Like it was under center. We weren't in the gun, but it was like the old Houston Oilers, with like Warren Moon, Ernest Givens, and some of the,
Earl Campbell and those guys.
I think after Earl Campbell, true like run and shoot. Like so, we would have plays where like it'd be like 4 guys going vertical. But depending on what the defense did, it might be an in-breaker, it might be an out-breaker, it might be just hook up, sit down. Yeah. So it was like a really fun offense, but like you had to know and learn football. So like that's where I started to really learn the game. Like I wasn't like a fan anymore. I had to like become immersed in it. And our coach would like give me a lot of leeway where like I'd get to the line of scrimmage and have like 3 plays, 4 plays. And I would have to look at the defense and I would call it. I would be like A, B, C, or D. And then like so then I got really into the X's and O's and kind of all right, if they do this we want to do that type of thing. And like when I graduated we didn't have a ton of wins, but offensively we were pretty proficient. Like we were solid and we played a tough schedule. And then I went to college at Framingham State, which is how I got to Mass. And I was a starter there when I wasn't injured. And again, kind of like high school, we weren't the best wins and losses wise, but kind of opened my eyes to, football is a lot more than what I thought it was even in high school. Like just so many more layers to it. The preparation, I think, was the biggest difference. Like in high school, I would watch film. I'd sneak off and, find a TV cart and wheel it into like some office that wasn't being used, and I'd watch film.
That's cool.
Like during study hall, I didn't cut class, but you know what I mean? Like if my homework's done, I'm not going to sit there and do nothing. But like in college, you got to watch film like before your day starts, before practice, after practice, and you got to watch like your practice film plus your opponent's scout film, So like, and our coach, Mark Sullivan, we didn't win a ton of games when he was there, but like he was one of the most detailed guys I ever saw. Even today, like scripting a practice out, like every play is done ahead of time, and then not only your offensive play, but like what the scout defense is going to do against you, the detail in the depth charts, the weight program, and it didn't work out for him. He's still coaching. He's at Fitchburg State now, and we still stay in touch. And then my senior year of college, Tom Kelly took over Framingham State, and we started to get better, but I learned more about the people side of things there. And so like Coach Kelly, I think he would kind of admit like he knows X's and O's. It's not a weakness, but that's not his strength. His strength is his people.
Yeah.
Like he's a great recruiter. He's great with managing his staff, and so he was the coach my senior year, and now I see this whole nother thing where like as a coach and as a football person, you've got to be a CEO. Like you can't just be about X's and O's and having a great practice. Like you got to recruit, you got to make people feel right, you got to communicate, you got to work with the school, the administration in the school, the academic part of it, and also Kel was always really good with the families. Like they would come in and I'd see him like interact with recruits, but also with their moms and their dads or whoever, their brothers or their sisters. And like that was a big part of the piece too. And then when I was done playing, he offered me a job. So like our last game was the first weekend in November. The next week we were like recruiting the state of Massachusetts. I'm 21 years old going to recruiting fairs in Connecticut.
Wow.
We're recruiting. We're going like to workshops in Atlantic City, learning just everything I could about football. And again, that's the greatest thing about this game, I think, is the minute you think you just like something happens and you know nothing. You know absolutely nothing. Like and it's going to happen again here at BR, and it happened when I took over at Franklin. And but anyways, so that was kind of how I really got into coaching. And at that point, I taught and coached at Ashland High School for a year. I went back to Framingham State for 2 years, and like we got our first bowl win. We broke a bunch of records. I always appreciated Coach Kell gave me a ton of responsibility. Like I was just a kid, and like I'm coaching kids that I played with, and had tons of responsibility. I always appreciated that. Eventually, got married, bought a house, all that. So I teach at Foxborough High School. So I worked for Coach Martinelli for 4 years at Foxborough. And, he's a Hall of Fame coach for a reason. They just won a Super Bowl. I think he's got over 300 wins. Yep. And all the stuff I just said, like, he's forgotten more about it than he has to even do it. You know what I mean? Because he's just done it forever.
Yeah. Coach, we just got to take one quick break.
You got it.
And that was totally awesome. I mean,
absolutely. I learned a lot there.
That was like a synopsis. That was so cool.
That was awesome.
All right, I'm sorry, Coach, we just have to step away for our first break. You're listening to 4 Deep Sports Talk here in the news station, 1320 AM WARA. We have the new skipper from Bridgewater Ram, Ian Bain. We'll be back with him and more right after this.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 4 Deep Sports Talk here at the news station 1320 AM Attleboro. We are still here with Bridgewater football coach Ian Bain. Now, have you noticed anything differently compared to the previous year of football?
I don't know if I'm supposed to hear this ad in my ears.
Yeah, hold
What
on.
happened?
There's an
All right,
ad
let's
playing
go.
right now.
That's all
All
right.
right, so we're not done. So shut the mics off.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 4 Deep Sports Talk here at the news station 1320. We are still here with Ian Bain. I wanted to next ask you, what have you noticed anything differently compared to the previous year of football?
It's the game's always evolving. That's always the interesting thing about. I think most sports do that, but in football, especially, there's always trends, I guess, and certainly, if you just go back 10 years and the amount of passing that's in the game now, the amount of use of the shotgun, the amount of run-pass options and RPOs and things like that. I would say, like, within the last year, kind of what I've noticed more of is I think you see a good amount of, trying to think how to say it, at the high school level, I think you're seeing more of a modernization of sorts. At all the, I think when we started in the Hockomock League in 2016, the teams we were playing anyways were majority under center, majority two back, 21 personnel, two back, one tight end type of offenses. And I think that you've seen a lot more willingness to sort of expand on what different players can do in different skill sets. And so I would say the biggest difference is that side of it, right? And I think most people know that. But then that also translates to changes on defense, because now defensively, if the offense kind of goes lighter and faster, as a defense, you have to go lighter and faster. So I think I've seen a lot more differences at the high school level with teams playing nickel personnel, which is 5 defensive backs, or even dime personnel, which is 6 defensive backs, kind of more of what would used to be considered sort of exotic looks, but now it's kind of just keeping pace with what offenses are doing. But then at the same time, the next week you might see a wing T or a double tight I formation team, and you've got to change back. So the need to be versatile and the need to have a wide array of things you can feature as a program, I think it's greater now than it's ever been.
Question for you. So when they changed to the National High School Federation rules, which you obviously saw in transition, what was the biggest change for you and your coaching staff to adjust to that?
Well, and just so everybody knows, so in Mass, us in Texas for a long time, we played college football rules, NCAA. So when you watch a game on Saturday, and that's obviously it's different from the rules on Sunday. Just even look at the hash marks and where the numbers are painted. They're different. So however many years ago, Massachusetts went from NCAA rules to what's called the National High School Federation rules. And just little things that we don't notice, like the hash marks are 6 feet wider than in the NCAA. Now, that might not seem like a lot to people, but that extra 2 yards into the boundary changes the games. Like, you saw a lot of teams kind of change their philosophies because you got extra space to the field versus into the boundaries is a little bit tighter. I think other things like pass interference is not an automatic first down like it is at the other levels of football. So if it's 3rd down and 20, you get a pass interference. It's a 15-yard penalty, but it's not an automatic first down. Now it's 3rd and 5.
Yeah.
When the defense jumps off sides, they don't get to jump back. It's an automatic 5. It's an automatic dead ball. I think those are the big ones. There's some other like little rules. I think at first it was the cut rules were different. I've never been a big fan of teaching cutting at high school level because I think it's a lazy way to coach blocking. So I've always hated it. I thought a lot of guys would just be like, well, just cut them. And it's like,
between the tackles.
Yeah, but it's just like, well, but make sure you teach them how to block first, you know? So now, like, you actually have to, I think the fundamentals have to be better in that. But overall, the game is like 95% the same.
Right.
There's just those little wrinkles.
The only wrinkle I noticed was the play clock, it seemed like it was shorter.
Especially out of timeouts, it's only 25 seconds. Yeah, when the ball's dead. That caught us the first year a couple times because especially if you're in no-huddle offense.
Yes.
Like I don't think we ever got to delay a game through the flow of the game.
Right.
But then once they changed that play clock rule, like if you had a timeout or the end whatever, and it's like, man, that 25 goes pretty quick because they blow it in. Usually then you call the play from the huddle, and that would have to speed up your operation.
So me and my ultimate wisdom, like I told you when I was over at the trade school, I would give them the wristbands. In the first 3 plays, I'd make sure I run first 3 plays right on the line of scrimmage. And then I'd have the wristbands, and then I'd realize we're still getting up. We have more than enough time. I was sweating it, so that's why I went with wristbands, blocking assignments, and all that. And I was saying to myself, we're still getting it off. But I said, you know what? They're so used to running the first 3 plays, and freshmen, basically advanced midget football at times. I just say, just run the first 3 plays. Just run the first 3 plays, then we'll see where we're at, and then we'll regroup from there. But I used to do the wristbands. I'm like, we're going to run out of time. We're going to get caught. Yeah. Something like that. But I don't know what else you guys have.
So obviously these new rules will change some strategies that you have, but what about your coaching style? How would you describe your coaching style?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's kind of 2 ways I would look at it. First, just from a personal standpoint, I think the game's different now with how you can behave as a coach. You can't just yell and scream to yell and scream. There was a time where people could do that and get away with it. It never bothered me as a player, but I know it bothered a lot of people. I think players now I think the biggest thing we talk about with our staff is like your players have to know the why. And that always starts with purpose. Like for us, when we talk about motivation, it's purpose, it's mastery, and it's autonomy. If they don't understand why we're doing something, you've already lost the lesson right there. And that's the same in a classroom. Like sometimes I'll teach something, and it's like the kids are like, "Why are we learning this?" And I'm like, "Honestly, I don't even know. This is kind of dumb. Like we probably don't need to know this." I think that's a big difference. Obviously, how you treat people is a big difference now than it used to be. So I think like I've probably mellowed a lot in 8 years as a head coach. I think also as a head coach, I've grown up a ton. Having kids changes you. Being married changes you. Having to actually be a real adult changes you. So I think like the first year at Franklin, first 2 years, our staff would like laugh at me. And I look back, I'm actually embarrassed, like to think like, oh, I would throw a headset, throw a temper tantrum, yell a lot more. Not to say that I don't get upset, and I do occasionally maybe throw a call sheet or something, but like growing up, that's a big part of it. And also like that's the message you need to show your players too.
Right.
That's a huge change. X's and O's, I mean, I think what we run, like when people see our offense, they call it a spread offense. They think all we do is throw. Mm-hmm. We're pretty balanced. They see you in the shotgun, they think it's a soft offense. I mean, I don't think Nick Saban's a soft coach. How often does Alabama got under center? Yeah, Kirby Smart's a pretty good coach. How often does Georgia get under center?
Right.
Michigan. They might have gotten under center a little bit more than most teams, but like they're not under center that much. Right. That's just the way the game is. And what I always tell people too is, as a quarterback, unless you're 6'5", when you get under center, you can't see anything. Like I'm 6'1" if I got my high tops on. Okay. When you get under center, you don't see as much, especially if your linemen are 6'3", 6'4", you don't see anything. Right. But when you back up just 5 yards, you see so much more. It's so much easier. anyways, my point being, I think what we run is not a gimmicky spread offense, football in a box deal. It's very much geared to what the pro style system is today. We've coached with guys that at Franklin where they played in the NFL, they coached in the NFL. We had them on our staff, and they're like, "Yeah, we're doing it the right way." And that goes for the defense too. I think sometimes people say, "Well, coach, you're an offensive guy. Who's calling your defense? Who's your defensive coordinator?" And I'm just like, it's a system that I've created over the years. I think in the first segment I was saying I worked with Jack Martinelli for 4 years. We did the defense together, and he's a brilliant man and a Hall of Fame coach. And so our teams have always been strong defensively. Now we've had games where we've given up a lot of points, but we've always played one of the best schedules in the state of Massachusetts.
That's
Franklin.
true.
I mean, we lost to Springfield in a Final Four game. It was 49-60, but their receiver went to BC, their quarterback went to Virginia Tech. They had this kid going that school. They had 7 D1 kids, and we hung with them. Yep. But you're not shutting that team out. That's the other. So we've had games where we've given up points, but I don't think we've ever been bad. We've always been really sound defensively, and our teams at Franklin never got enough credit for that. We had great defensive coordinators, Scott Campbell and Sam Rosen, who are now at LaSalle Academy in Rhode Island and Framingham High as D coordinators, or Sam's an offense coordinator, but whatever, respectively. They're on to good opportunities closer to home for them. But we had great defenses there, so I think our defenses are really sound and really aggressive. And I think as a coach, that's kind of how I am as a person, what I'm looking for, and then also let's not forget special teams. We spend a lot of time on special teams. I would argue more time than probably a lot of other programs. But I've seen special teams win games, and I've seen special teams lose games. So hopefully it's never going to lose us a game. But I feel like we've definitely stolen a game or two in 8 years because of great special teams play.
I think so many teams forget how important special teams
Absolutely.
are sometimes. Even the greatest coaches, you see that they just either it's their stance, and they don't have their stance for an extra point or a punt,
Right.
and then wonder how that spy got in there between the gaps.
Yeah, I mean,
It's crazy.
last year we played Taunton, and it was the best Taunton team that I'd seen in 8 years. And Coach Sid does a fantastic job. They should have beat us. Somehow, I don't know why, we went down 27-14 in the fourth quarter. And they go, or maybe it was the end of the third quarter, but whatever. They go to kick the extra point. We come off the edge. The kid just gets a paw on it, blocks it.
Yep.
27-14. We score with 6 seconds left. Kick the extra point to win the game, 28-27.
Wow.
I mean, special teams, it just matters, right?
Absolutely.
So I
As
never
we
want
call
They
them,
live
missed
for
assignment.
those.
never want to neglect special. But it also would have been easy for that kid to not rush because he's like, shoot, we're down 13 and we're probably not going to win.
Right.
I think we just gave up 21 unanswered points, and he was, he could have easily just been like, nah, this ain't important.
I remember reading that in the paper in
Yeah.
the Brockton Enterprise. All right, we're getting ready to take our third and a half break, or second and a half break, one of the two.
Yeah.
If you want to call in and talk to Coach, 508-222-1320. We have the new skipper over at Bridgewater Raynham High School. Great guy, very good football coach. Again, I did the math. He's at least last 6 years, averaged 7 wins, if not more. Again, 508, as I'm dragging this on, 508-222-1320. You can listen online at all one word, 4deepsportstalk.com. You can watch them on the Facebook page, which is linked to our website, the YouTube page. This show will be edited for Access TV. We will catch you right back right after this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 4 Deep Short Stock here at the news station 1320. We are going to continue our interview. My next question is, what do you anticipate for this upcoming season of football? What do you think will happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always want to have high expectations, and regardless of kind of where we've been or what people think we should be, our expectation is to compete at a high level and play good football. I think the number one thing in any year is the first thing you can do before you can become a great team, you got to get rid of bad football. And it's an easy thing to say, but that starts with how you prepare, starting now through the summer. And then when you get to training camp, making sure we're doing little things right to play good football. I think bad football gets you beat a lot more than anything else. So if you can just get rid of that, and then just the commitment to fundamentals, blocking and tackling, creating some explosive plays, that's what we've got to do. And the biggest thing, anytime I talk about expectations or anything like that, is that you have to be process driven with how you approach anything. Everybody knows what they want. Like we want to be undefeated. All right, great. Everybody knows what they want. We want to win the league title. Great. We want to make the playoffs. Everybody knows what they want. And then most people know how to do it. I got to work hard. I got to lift weights. I got to run. But really, that's where now we go back to the why. Why are you going to get out of bed 4 or 5 days a week this summer at 6 a.m. or 6:30 or 7 or 7:30? Why are you going to do that? Like, what about you is going to push you to do that? And that's where we got to have core values. We've got to be willing to have great character, compete, give elite effort, be disciplined, and then then the other stuff happens. But you got to be process driven. You got to put the work in. You got to invest your time, not spend your time. And I think that's the expectation. And then the results will be good for us. So we're going to expect good results, but right now our expectation is focus on the process.
So, Coach, I know you share ideas with other head coaches. For instance, Barnstable head coach Ross. I know he's a good friend of yours. Yeah. How do you bring those ideas together, and how do they come over with the kids?
Yeah, I think it just starts with the best coaches that I've been around share information. There's nothing that we're doing that I, on my own, created. It was an idea I learned or could have tweaked, but I got it from somewhere. Somebody took the time to talk to me about coaching at a high level or doing something at a high level. So there's a lot of coaches, and I think sometimes there's a thought that these guys are rivals, they must not get along. Our rival at Franklin is King Philip. The head coach at King Philip, Brian Lee, and I think are very friendly. And most of the coaches in the Hockomock League, we all got along really well. And then just for whatever reason, with Ross and Barnstable, we never played them. They were one year we were going to get on the schedule, and then COVID happened, and everything kind of got reshuffled. But we would always go out to these we call them coaching clinics, and it's there's always one in Boston. There's a great one in Newport, Rhode Island that I help out with called the Big New England. And we get the Newport Marriott, and you get 500 coaches come to this thing, and you get local pro, college, high school coaches. I've been fortunate to speak at it a couple times. Our State Coaches Association has a clinic up at Gillette that I've been fortunate to speak at a couple times. I was saying last year I went out to St. Louis and Greenwich, Connecticut, and I've done Atlantic City. And you go and you speak, and that's really cool. And then you get to connect with all these different coaches. But then, by going to St. Louis, I got to meet the O-line coach at Northwestern and the O-line coach at Missouri. And then I'm meeting all these coaches that drive there from Arkansas or, places you don't think that are close to St. Louis. But it's only 2 hours away. I'm oh, that's really cool. So just in the process of that, it's just being open-minded and understanding that, nobody's figuring out football on their own.
Right.
You got and not everybody's like that. Not everybody does share secrets. Not everybody wants to be collegial, and some people have all the answers and they don't want your help either, and that's fine too. But as much as I can share, I'll share. As much as I can take selfishly, I'm going to take. And I think with Ross and I, we've just always bounced off ideas. he does a lot of things great X's and O's wise, but like I think he's one of the best I've ever seen in terms of like how he organizes his kids in the offseason, how they team build, how they go give back to the community, how they are a part of, Cape Cod, but Barnstable. And like, I love what they do. And I heard him speak at the Big New England Clinic in Newport. And I was like, this stuff's awesome. Like we talk
very community driven.
Yeah, he's great. And I know, his wife's there in the community. His kids are growing up right there. I mean, he's a Barnstable guy through and through, but like, everything about him's authentic too.
Yes.
So anyway, it's like I've always shared those ideas. It's funny that now we play each other. I don't think that was ever the expectation, but I think we're both looking forward to it in a respectful way. And we'll fight each other on that Friday night for a couple hours, and then we'll be the best of friends afterwards too.
Yeah, very cool.
That is really cool. So here's their schedule. Max Prep actually got it right. They start off on September 6th. They host Barnstable at home. They'll kick off the ball at 7. And then Coach Bain's team, they have the next 3 road games on the 13th. They go visit Plymouth South. They'll kick off at 7. At Marshfield, they'll play the Rams. They'll kick off on the 20th. 27th of September, they visit Middleborough. Then they come home for Durfee at 6 p.m. Then they're away again for New Bedford. And then they finish up the season at home against Dartmouth. I apologize, the New Bedford game is the 18th. The 25th of October is the Dartmouth game. And they finish the season November 1st against Shrewsbury, and then most likely you still have the contract with Brockton to play on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why the Thanksgiving deal would change, but Brockton is still on the schedule. That definitely sounds right. I think our home games are at 6 p.m., and Max Preps takes it off of Huddle, which probably just by default says 7. So not a big deal there, but yeah, it's a challenging schedule.
That's a pretty
for sure.
good. Yeah, that is that's a pretty good schedule. I mean, I'm not surprised being BR.
Yeah, I mean,
do the same thing in hockey.
Yep. Barnstable last year was a Final Four team.
Yeah.
Marshfield lost to King Philip at Gillette Stadium, and King Philip was the best high school football team in the state last year, hands down, in my opinion.
And then I believe Middleborough was in the middle of
is
the
always
South Shore League.
Awesome. Plymouth South, they're just as consistent as it comes around here. So. And then our league, every year that league is tough, but our focus is really on ourselves. It's and that's all we can control right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll be prepared for each of those games, but we've got to be the best group of Trojans we can be before we can think too much about the other stuff.
And I know you had a question on this team, right?
Yeah, it was. What games are you looking forward to the most? I know you said you kind of have a tough schedule. Are those the ones that you really like? Get excited for and get the guys rowdy for?
It's cliche, and anybody's welcome to call BS. Just the next game is always the one I'm looking forward to. There's never an opportunity to look beyond that. And Barnstable obviously is the first game, but like really, we got our first scrimmage against Canton, and I know their coach feels really good about the young talent they have coming back. We have our game scrimmage right next door here in North Attleboro against Mike Strachan, and they've got a great team. They got a fourth-year quarterback in Chase Frisoli, and they got these other kids that are, we've seen them play the last 2 years playing against them with Franklin. So, like, really those 2 scrimmages and kind of seeing our guys just compete. And there's going to be a lot of learning that takes place for sure, and a lot of growth that takes place for sure. So I think – like just those 2 scrimmages, I want to see how we respond when we get in the arena.
Yeah, what are you looking for in your players? Because obviously this is your first year. You don't really know everyone too well. You might have some idea, but what are you looking for at these players, and even like off-season like weight lifts and stuff like that?
All I want our players to do is trust me, and want to be developed. And again, we've at Franklin we were really fortunate. We had a lot of great players. That always makes everything a lot easier. But the thing about all that talent is they all work their butt off. I mean, I can't say enough about the buy-in. And it wasn't 100% year 1, but by year 2, I mean, we'd have 75 kids there in the morning every day. We'd have 25, 35 freshmen every day in the summer. We'd have 25, 35 7th and 8th graders most days in the summer. So, like, they bought in, and then because of that, in the way we developed them and the standards that we had and the culture we built, 48 kids got on a college roster that played for us at Franklin High School.
Wow.
And there were a lot more that went on and they played lacrosse, or they played baseball, or they played rugby, or they took that visit to Bryant, but you know what? They just kind of wanted to be a kid and didn't want to play football. That's fine. But, like, we helped a lot of kids, 48 get on a roster, and then we had even more play college sports, and then we had even more that just they found a school that they fell in love with as part of that recruiting process. So, again, if they want to work and they trust that we can develop them, you know, and I just always tell the parents, like, hey, it's a big commitment. Like, we're asking just as much out of our parents as we're asking out of our players. Mm-hmm. But, like, it's for the betterment of everybody. Like, you can say, hey, like, you're a hockey guy, right?
Yeah.
If you played football, we would have made you a better hockey player. Like, I promise you, you would have got bigger, faster, stronger. Everything we do is athletic-based. It's not about, like, you know, this is going to help you be a better football player only. Like, it's all universal. Mm-hmm. And that's all I ask, and that's all I expect.
Yeah, that's really a great mindset to have.
Yeah, I mean, but it works. And that's the thing is, like, if you want something, like, put it this way, if you want to have an elite program, you have to do elite things. Mm-hmm. And that's what we plan to do.
And we're going to going to our last break. This is going to be really fast because the way the quarters fell. So let's release that hold. And we'll release that hold there. There we go. Is it up? It's not flashing?
Yeah.
Oh, hit it again. All right, there you go. And are we going into a break right now? No, we're still here.
We're still here.
I'm sorry. So we have about 30 seconds before we go on this last break. If you want to call when we get back, 508-222-1320. We'll probably have another 5 minutes with the coach. If that, again, we hope you're watching online on our Facebook via the Facebook page with WARA and our YouTube page, all on our website, 4deepsportstalk.com. We'll be back with Coach and wrap up this hour right after this. So that should go off. Hit the next one over.
This one?
Yeah.
Still here.
Well, it's still there, so we'll stay. And I think what's going to happen
You're going to cut us off.
No, I think what happened, he accidentally hit the red button by accident.
Oh,
the other one. But that should take us to the top of the hour, so we'll stay here.
Yeah,
Did we take 3 breaks? We did take
so.
3
We
breaks.
took 3,
We did
yeah.
take.
Yeah.
All right, so
this one, yeah.
right, so that just timed out to the next spot. All right, so we don't have to hold anything.
All right.
We'll just watch it. How much time do you have on your thing? 11.
11 minutes, yeah.
What's the time in the gray?
12:54.
All right, so we'll just hold on to it. So, Coach, let's get the shout-outs out. There's probably a lot of people you want to say goodbye to, hello to, thank you to, as you start this new
It
endeavor.
must have been really hard leaving Franklin.
It's super hard. It was weird because I would tell people it's like it wasn't like a negative split.
Right,
you know?
right.
But it was look, realistically for the longevity of my own career and in our family, it just made the most sense.
Yeah.
And I always said, like, I wouldn't have left Franklin for any job.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that made a lot of sense. So, you know, in terms of goodbyes, like I've said a ton of them, but just I was always around amazing players, amazing staffs, our athletic team, from the athletic directors that we worked for, our administrative assistants that worked there, the trainers, the people in the summer program, like that made it work. Like, that was huge. You know, as far as getting to BR, everybody I've interacted with so far has been super helpful. Everybody just wants to know how can they help, what can they do, and that's great. And then, of course, you know, my wife and my kids, they've just are always supportive. They would have been supportive if I stayed at Franklin. They would have been supportive if I took a different job and a different path. So, you know, I'm grateful for them. And then I've also been super fortunate to work for amazing coaches and people. You know, the offensive coordinator at Merrimack, Ainsley Rosenbaum, the head coach at Ashland, Andrew McKay. Like, we were all at Framingham State together at the same time. And, like, I think those are two of the – like, Andrew McKay is one of the best football minds ever that I've ever met. But at the time at Framingham, he was a defensive guy. So, like, I learned so much defense that I just didn't understand from him. And, you know, he's been at Ashland. We always worked together at Ashland with our 2 programs. And, you know, he's got a Super Bowl win up there. And then Ainsley, you know, he's now at Merrimack, which is a Division I program, and he's the offensive coordinator there. And, I mean, I learned so much offense. Like, the stuff we were doing when we did it at Framingham State, we were one of the first to run true RPOs. Like we took it from Merrimack, John Perry, who took it from Chip Kelly at UNH, and like we were doing stuff that at that time nobody was doing. It was so cool. So to be on the cutting edge of like two of the best offensive and defensive coaches I've ever, and then the head coaches that I played for or worked for were all great. Like I haven't worked for bad people. Like some people, they're like, imagine if your first coaching job is for a guy that isn't a very good coach. Set you back, right? I've never had that experience. I've always had very positive interactions. So it's made coaching extremely fun for me, but also like I've learned a ton.
That's really cool. I know we have a couple minutes, but before I forget, I know everyone at the radio station and AACS wish you the best.
Yeah, thank you.
We're a little bit of a separate entity, being 40 Sports Talk. We want to wish you the best, and I know you'll probably see me calling some of the games and with the BR staff, and except when you play Attleboro, we want you to beat up on Attleboro if you guys make the playoffs.
Coach Winters has got Attleboro turning the corner. They're going to be
I
just
want to make
fine.
sure, I want to make sure I get that out there. I don't want nobody in Attleboro to get upset.
No.
I know KC doesn't care about North Attleboro anymore if they lose. See you turn ahead. He's a North Attleboro, ex-North Attleboro kid. But again, Coach, it was great to have you come on. I thank you. I know we put a little bit of email tag, and looking forward to watching some of your games. I've seen you coach before, and I'm not just saying that. I've seen it for 3 years. I've seen what you can do. I know you care about your kids. I've personally seen it. So I think it's a blessing for the Trojans to have you there. And I'm curious, how your staff's going to go. I know there's probably some coaches coming back from last year that caught your attention that you want back. But again, we just want to wish you the best. And how much time do we have left?
We got like 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Again, is there with 2 minutes or a minute and 30 seconds, you want to give any quick shout outs to your family, your friends, or anybody before we get off?
Not necessarily, but
Okay.
I think just anybody out there that is from Bridgewater or Raynham, or you have kids in the school or enrolling in the school, if there's anybody, I know that I'm brand new. So if there's anybody that hasn't had a chance to get to know me, if you have questions about the program, if you just are curious about the direction we're going, feel free to reach out. Send me an email. I'm on Twitter. I want to make sure that, our goal is to give and serve in these two communities and in the school system. And that's what we need to be about. So I want to be as upfront and helpful and transparent, whether that's for our youth programs, the Badgers and the Giants. And I think the world of those two youth presidents that we have and those coaches. Parents, I know football can be a big commitment. It can be a scary game at times too. But we have the best interests of our kids, our players, their health and their safety in mind. And then we've been committed to hiring a great staff. So like I said, and I can't stress enough, any player that comes out and puts on that red jersey, they're going to get developed. They're going to be held accountable. They're going to work hard. And sometimes when people say change culture, everybody thinks it's a negative. That's just who I am. Our culture at Bridgewater Raynham is authentic. It's the only way that I know how to build. So it doesn't mean anybody was good or bad, but our players are going to be in a very positive situation and positive culture.
Awesome. All right. For that being said, again, we hope you enjoyed this hour of 4 Deep Sports Talk. This will be retaped and re-edited off our YouTube page. We hope you have a great weekend. Coach, thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
We will catch you next time. Everyone have a fantastic weekend.